Hi there, I'm Dr. Francesca Zampollo, and as you know, I talk about food design. Today, I'm going to talk about a very special, very important topic, which is circular food design. Before I get into it, I just want to remind you to check out my books on Amazon. You will find them in all amazon.com.uk.it.au, wherever you are in the world. These three are methods to methods, they're books, but they are about a method to generate ideas. This is a method to learn about your food design context, and this is a wonderful little book that will help you to train your mind to think like a food designer. Okay, circular food design. Let's get into it. The circular economy, not circular food economy, but circular economy, is a way of thinking. It is a goal that every designer and food designer should aim at. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation defines circular economy as restorative and generative by design. Relying on system-wide innovation, it aims to redefine products and services to design waste out while minimizing negative impacts. This is the model I have created for the circular food economy, which is based on the circular economy model provided by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but with a few additions and specifications. Whatever work you do around food, I believe you should become familiar with the circular food economy model and design within it, or even just take inspiration from it. I'm going to go into details on this model because my food design thinking methodology is based on this model, and various of the food design thinking methods, I have designed them to help you design for the circular food economy. This is quite important, not just for your personal development as a food designer, but also for any project you will ever work on in the future. In order to understand circular economy, it is useful to start from what was there before we started thinking circularly. And that was the linear economy, which unfortunately is the approach for much of product design still done today. The linear economy consists of taking raw materials from the planet's resources, manufacturing products are used by consumers, and then disposed of, ending up in the landfill. Then we started realizing that we could recycle something. So after being used, some materials were recycled and reused in manufacturing. But that was pretty much it. Nowadays, finally, there is a bit of effort being made in considering recycling as the last resource before landfill, and instead prompting reusing and remanufacturing. Remember that the ultimate goal should be reducing waste and minimizing any type of negative impact. So we have to ask ourselves and find out if, for example, recycling a material is more or less environmentally friendly than transporting parts somewhere else for manufacturing, considering the amount of energy and resources and CO2 emissions used by both options. Having said that, let's take a closer look at my model for the circular food economy. While you watch this, you might start having some light bulbs switching on in your brain. Embrace that. Stop this video and start taking notes. The first part of your food design thinking process is about searching for inspiration. Who knows, maybe you will find some here. As you can see in this visualization I made, and please remember that this model is based on that from the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, but this is my own visualization with various additions. The economy is made by moving around organic material and inorganic materials, all your plastic, metals, glass, etc. At the top, we have where the materials are made, either farms and animal farms, or the places where materials themselves are gathered and refined. Materials then go through some manufacturing process. Here is where metal becomes pots, glass becomes jars, and plastic becomes packaging, for example. Most animal products and the vast majority of plant products go through some type of manufacturing process. Then, of course, here the organic and inorganic materials meet. So the jam meets the jar and the label and a lid, and it becomes a jar of jam. The yogurt meets the plastic packaging and it becomes a yogurt cup, etc. Once the product is ready, it goes to a service where it is sold. These can be stores, shops, warehouses if the retailer only works online, markets, etc. A small amount of plant products, the part which is not processed, goes straight to the service provider. These are basically only fresh fruit and veggies. The same can happen for some type of fresh fish. Fresh meat, on the other hand, does undergo a processing stage where the animal is killed and dismembered. At the service stage, products are sold, and here they meet the consumer. The consumer uses the non-edible products and eats the edible products. Let's see what happens to the non-edible products first, after the consumer has used them. The first thing that the conventional circular economy model leaves out, at least visually, is the possibility for the user to reuse the product. This is the case of products that have solved their first function and now can be used for a second function which was not intentionally designed. Very simple, all the drinking glasses in my house were jars of olives or jam or whatever else. Finished the jam, so the jar had finished its first use, and now I am choosing to reuse it for another purpose, drinking. I do not have normal glasses at home because there's no reason to have them for me. This is quite simple and many people are already doing this. So this is the case where the object does not need to be altered or fixed in any way before being used for a second purpose. Then there are the products that, if they break and start malfunctioning, can be repaired by the consumer herself. And good design has taken this possible maintenance into account and has designed protocols to help the customer in doing these repairs. For example, my coffee grinder breaks, but the parts and instructions are simple enough for me to fix it. Or a part is broken and I call the manufacturer and they're going to send me the piece I need. Another aspect that the original circular economy model leaves out is that of sharing and everything that is the sharing economy. Sharing a product, like for example a pasta maker that travels between friends according to who needs it, happens when the life of the product is still in its prime, when it's still usable, it's not broken. I can share the product with someone I know or with a small group of people I know. But I can also share it with strangers, like in the case of an Airbnb apartment, for example. And now we enter into the possibilities of discarded products and materials when the product is no longer usable or when the consumer no longer needs it. First of all, the product can be sent back to the service provider who, if necessary, repairs it and who can sell it to someone else who is able to reuse it or give it the necessary maintenance. Products can then be refurbished and remanufactured. So when discarded, they go back to the manufacturer who, through a service provider, sells it to other people. And finally, products are dismantled and materials recycled, which means that they go back to the parts manufacturer, then the product manufacturer, and to the service provider, and finally to the consumer as completely new products. And now for the organic products, amongst which there is of course food. Let's remember that organic products are not only food, but there are also flowers, some body care products, even though most of them now are made of who knows what chemical stuff, some clothes, paper, etc. Okay, so When it comes to food specifically, one thing that we can do with leftovers, and this is something that was not in the original circular economy model, we can feed hungry people with some sharing economy services. There are, for example, many apps, one of which is Leftover Swap, for example, that allow you to list your leftover food, and whoever is in the neighborhood and would like to have it can come over and get it. And feeding hungry people is something, of course, food services can do too. And some are already doing it by, for example, donating their food to charities. From now on, it's worth remembering that every option the user has with his own leftovers, the food service provider also has. So from now on, there are things we can do, but also restaurants and cafes can do. What to do with unwanted food and food scraps? Well, I believe that at least a portion of it you can give it to your own pets. The food that is safe for your pets to eat. In addition, other leftovers you can give to your own farm animals, if you have any. These might seem obvious, but I did want to visualize it as to make it clear that we have this option too. And maybe you don't have a goat or chickens, but your neighbor might. So before throwing your leftovers in the bin, look around you. I know it seems weird to go and look for people who would love your food scraps, but it's weird because we, this society, made it so. It's all a matter of educating people that food waste is not at all waste. It's in fact a resource. And this is really the key concept in circular food economy. Then we can make compost. Compost is another highly underrated solution that you can implement to transform food waste into a highly valuable product. You can compost food and use it for your own flowers or your own veggie garden or small plants in your balcony. All you need to compost is 2 buckets, dry leaves or cardboard, and food scraps. And that's it. And if you can't or you don't want to compost yourself, you can still donate your food scraps. Grow New York City, for example, has so far organized 42 food scrap collection points where people go whenever convenient for them and donate their own food waste, and be sure that it will be used to make compost. Compost then, of course, is used to grow more organic materials and therefore goes back into the cycle. For the next solution, there needs to be a system in place. So these are either solutions adopted by the town where you live or by private services in your area. Organic material can undergo a process called anaerobic digestion, which produces either biogas, which can be used at any point in the circular economy, or fertilizer made from solid and liquid components. The fertilizer, of course, goes back into farming. Finally, fats, oils, and grease, which cannot be composted, can be rendered to make biodiesel and animal feed, and some type of cosmetics, soap, etc. Remember this, we as a global economy today use resources 1.5 times the regeneration capacity of planet Earth. According to the WWF and Global Footprint Network, in 2017, by August 2, humanity had already used up its allowance of planetary resources such as water, soil, and clean air for 2017. This means that humanity lived on credit for the rest of the year. We started using more resources than Earth is able to regenerate back in 1971. And since then, Earth Overshoot Day, as it's called, has arrived earlier and earlier every year. The food design thinking methodology that I have proposed will help you design for the circular food economy thanks to various food design thinking methods that will help you through the process. Check out fooddesignthinking.org for more info. I hope you found this useful. As always, thank you for watching this video. Have a lovely day and happy food design.